What is up, beautiful people? CLG Lifestyle here, Corwin L. Gilliams, coming at you with another video. Hope you guys are feeling blessed. Hope you guys are grateful to be alive. Some people did not wake up this morning. We did, and that's enough reason, in my opinion, for us to find the smallest opportunity to be grateful. I am the creator of CLG Lifestyle. For those of you who don't know, CLG Lifestyle is a lifestyle brand influencing you to love self. My focus or my area of interest are in the areas of faith. Number one, faith is the foundation of everything that I do when it comes to the man that I aspire to be, when it comes to my identity and who I show up as in the world, taking into consideration the imperfections that every human being I feel encounter on their journey of discovering their best self. It's a journey, and so I'm just taking you on this journey in a transparent way, in a way that's unique to me. And so faith is the foundation, right? Faith, and then also I have interests in the realms of community development, food, fitness, etc., etc. And so I try not to put any stipulations on or any type of restrictions on the content that I create. I'm unconventional at most, at best. I mean, that's the traditional word I would use to describe, for contextual purposes, the person that I am. Unconventional meaning, what I'm saying, I'm just, there's only one me, right? And so that needs to be reflected in my brand, in what it is that I create, and who it is I show up in the world, as long as I'm being truthful to myself. With that being said, this video that I'm going to do is outside, or I would say probably new when it comes to the type of content that I videograph or videotape and share on my platform. But I felt it was important to share, and is maybe the introduction or the genesis, right? Pun intended, of of a new topic or new theme or new area of focus that I'll be speaking on, and share, based on the revelations that I get and based on the things that I would do for my own business and for my plans, right? If you are someone who is actively in the affordable housing industry, right, this message is for you. And when I talk about affordable housing, I'm talking about a more of because affordable housing is a broad, it's a broad range of, I guess, types, right? There are different types of affordable housing, but this one I want to talk about, and I think what I'm going to talk about is applicable not only to affordable housing but to life in general, and so it all ties in. So this video is more focused on, or should I say, what inspired this video was an experience that I had with Roomshare, right? So that's a form of affordable housing, right? Affordable housing, simply explained, is basically, you being able to afford a home or residence based on your income, right? So we have market rate rents, market rate value homes and property that, go for market rate rent, which are typically above the median income, or above, what someone who makes minimum wage can afford. So you'll find, for the most part, like I said, there are different types of affordable housing that is bracketed based on your income, right? Someone who makes $50,000 can be considered someone who's eligible for affordable housing based on the income requirements of the property owner or developer of the affordable housing, right? And it gets even more deeper, and the breadth and the depth and the width and all of that, it gets even more intricate and complex. So I want to keep it simple with what I'm going to talk about as far as affordable housing. Now, there's affordable housing as simple as buying a house or even renting, a 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom apartment, and renting it out as room share, meaning you'll have maybe 2, 3, 4, sometimes 6 people in one room, depending on the size of the room, depending on the furnishing. If you're doing bunk beds, you are more than likely to fit 6 people in one room if you're doing bunk beds, right? If you're doing single beds, you could probably fit 4 people, right? And so it all depends on the area footage, square footage of the room, and truth be told, how greedy the landlord or the owner is, because they'll try to get as much people in there as much as possible. And that's not what I'm into. I believe in affordable housing. I believe it serves its purpose for a season. Affordable housing helps people who, some of the demographics or the groups of people that that affordable housing helps are, students, right? Single people, single parents, people who are recovering from different types of addiction, people who are dealing with different types of disability, and they live on a restricted income, and they can only afford a certain amount of money for rent per month. These are the types of individuals, which include, again, elderly people, all types of people, right? People who are visibly and invisibly disabled, people, again, who are making minimum wage and they can't afford, what I'm saying, a market rate studio apartment. It doesn't matter what age they are, students, of course. Affordable housing provides opportunity for all types of people. Whatever your situation is in life, affordable housing, provides an opportunity for you to have a roof over your head without living in the shelter, right? Now, there are some shelters, right, that are set up to actually be a form of affordable housing, meaning in the shelter you have your own room, you have your own privacy, your own shower, etc., but it's still a shelter. It still operates as a shelter where you have certain restrictions and obligations and rules to abide by. This still also applies when you are living in certain room share facilities, especially if it's an organization or nonprofit, or if it's privately owned, meaning like an individual owns a property in their room and they have it set up as room shares. There tends to be more leeway and they tend to be more forgiving when it comes to just rules and regulations, as far as when you can leave, as far as you know cleaning rules and stuff like that. And so I want to focus on organizations and people who participate in the affordable housing industry on a micro level, meaning that they have a couple houses, or they may have a nonprofit organization that you know supports, or should I say, have affordable housing as one of the sectors in their nonprofits. And so you have one, two, three, several properties that you manage and that you sustain, and you know what I'm saying, you may be needing some help or some assistance or some consultation or some advice or counsel on what you can do, whether you know it or not. Maybe you're not even actively looking, but this video will inspire you and give you some ideas as to what you can implement for your affordable housing. And yeah, so this video is going to focus on the importance of establishing rules, right? Again, when you're dealing with certain populations, right? And I want to be very clear that that I am, I'm sensitive to the effects of addiction and people who are in sobriety and who desire to overcome and truly overcome their addictions and move forward into a life of independence, right? Affordable housing is sometimes part of the journey to self-sufficiency, 100% self-sufficiency, right? So the journey to self-sufficiency, especially as a man, right? You'll find that most, from my experience, growing up the way I've grown up, I've noticed that when it comes to charitable organizations and the help that's available to people who need help from governmental assistance and other private organizations, that the priority tends to be women and children, understandably so, right? That is just a culture, that is just the way things have always been. When it came, historically, when it came to war and issues of war within nations, women and children were the priority, right? Even with Titanic, the movie Titanic just came to me. Thank you, Holy Spirit. We're in a movie, Titanic was, I believe, based on a true story. And so there are elements of the movie, right, that reflects the history of man, right? And so the part where, the boat was sinking and, the women, right? Women and children, and the elite, might I add. The elite, and I say the elite because if you can remember the movie, there was one man, right? I believe it was Rose, right? Rose, the man that she was supposed to be married to, or the one that her family ordained for her to be married to, but she was not in love with him, right? She was in love with Jack, and so he's slid onto the boat, right? It was supposed to be a boat for women and children, and so he got onto the boat, and I believe he got a pass because he was elite, he was rich, and so they saw him, they saw this man slip on, got on the boat, which he wasn't supposed to, but anyways, so yeah, so historically we know that women and children are priority, but from a faith-based perspective, right, from a spiritual perspective, as a child of God, a follower of Jesus Christ, I must be clear, and explain, because I choose to, why I'm speaking from the perspective that I'm speaking to. Men, from a biblical perspective, are the pillars of society when it comes to structure, when it comes to just establishing the family unit, when it comes to just representation, as far as order, respect, integrity, protection, all of that, right? And I'm being very specific here and intentional when I say from a biblical perspective, because I need people to understand who watch this video is that I am not condemning your religion and your belief. If you are a feminist, if you're someone who is woman empowerment and you believe that women are the strongest, you believe that women are the pillars of society, that's fine, right? There are arguments and facts that you can pull up and express that will support what you're saying validly. What I'm saying is that from my understanding and from my perspective as a believer in the Word of God and its teachings, I understand that the man was made according to the intentions of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The man was created to be the pillar of society, and so everything that he represents, right, would trickle down or be a domino effect of everything that comes behind him or beside him, right? In this case would be his wife, right? The Lord himself says that men and women are equal, right? I don't know why in society, for the most part, when it comes to Christians, why there's this argument about, who is more powerful and the equality of women, because the Word of God says that, women are equal to men, right? We all have our strengths and our weaknesses, and we complement each other. What you're strong at, I'm not. What I'm strong at, you're not. And so the union and the togetherness, what I'm saying, as man and woman, is supposed to glorify the hybrid nature of God, right? As the God who created both men and women, we are manifestations of the identity of God as God, who created us in his image and likeness. So there are feminine and male aspects in God, which is seen through us, even through nature, even through flowers and fruits and animals and trees. There's a female and a male, right? Even through, what I'm saying, electronic devices, there's a male plug and a female, right? So the aspect, or should I say the technology of female and male, transcends beyond the human experience. It's just having different perceptions and revelations and perspectives of these terminology, and to not get so tied up in just tradition and what we've been taught, but to be open to other people's perspective and to learn from it. So in our society, right, there are many people who, again, believe that women and children are the priority, as they should be, right? It's important. Even the word talks about widows and orphans, which is essentially women and children, are to be the priority. God affirms this. However, if men are supposed to be the pillar and the structure and the representation of godliness, the frame of reference of honor and dignity and integrity, but they themselves are broken and dishonored and have lost their identity, then who do they look up to? Who's supposed to restore their identity? Who's supposed to restore the identity of a man as designed by God? It can only be God. I'm not even going to get into that. It can only be God. So once a man comes back into the original revelation or the original design of his identity as a child of God, now he can begin to build not only his life, restore his life, he now begins to restore his household, right? And then of course the community, and everything else moving forward that extends or expands beyond him, right? But he has to get himself together first. With that being said, um, with that being said, we have, and that would be the focus of my affordable housing, right? To provide more opportunities for men who are trying to do the right thing. They're not trying to sell drugs. They're not trying to do none of that foolishness or make illegal money. They want to work legitly. They want to go back to school. They want to do. That's another reason why people have to take part-time jobs, because they're going back to school, and part-time or minimum wage job is less demanding. It doesn't require much. You work and then you pay your bills, and you focus more on the more important task, which it would be education and developing your mind and your vocation so that you can get a better paying job. And in I guess a better case, go into entrepreneurship. Either which way, this is what I'm saying about the importance of your relationship with God, because it is God who is going to have you, is going to lead you, right? God is the one who's going to lead his creation, man or woman, to the purposes and plans that he has for them. And so back to what are some of the things that you should have hands down when it comes to affordable housing. And what I'm saying, making sure that that your property is maintained, making sure that the people who may apply, everyone have their different application processes and the things that they've set up to have people be residents in their property. Whatever your stipulations are or your requirements are, foundationally, the person has to have a certain amount of income coming in, considering that we have, again, different people, right? Different, or should I say, considering that we have a demographic that's on a limited income, right, or fixed income, right? So you already know what type of individuals who are on a fixed income when it comes to governmental supplemental programs, right? And so with that being said, there needs to be rules, right? So you have these people who are looking for a place to stay, right? There needs to be rules when it comes to the maintenance of your property, when it comes to simple things as what we would say as life skills, right? So these individuals, especially if they're on their journey to sobriety or sustained sobriety, meaning that they've gotten to a level of healing where they can now have some level of independence, but they still need to be, I guess, watched or monitored, right? And so these individuals, what I'm saying, they're still learning life skills. They are still learning to develop habits and sustain good habits that will last them not only for the rest of their lives, but will help them to sustain better opportunities that will come as a result of their restoration, right? So the individuals who, I'm at the beach, y'all. Listen, I'm at the beach, okay? This is part of the good life. You understand what I'm saying? Don't look, some days you're gonna have some formality. Some days you're gonna have some conservative background, some conservative stuff. But listen, I'm at the beach. It's a beautiful day today, a beautiful evening here, and I'm just feeling blessed, and the message is still gonna come out just as potent and powerful and effective as if it was if I were somewhere else, right? So these individuals, right? And again, across the board, whether we're not being discriminatory, we're not being judgmental, we're establishing expectations for our property, right? Because we value our property. Yes, we want to help our community. Yes, we want to, provide a service and to be generous and all these great things as to why you and I are involved in social enterprises or philanthropic endeavors. But at the same time, there needs to be established rules and boundaries and expectations when it comes to people living on your property who don't own your property, and people who, let's keep it real, are really learning what it's like to live on their own, right? So the first rule is rules. Now, some rules, are not meant to be broken, right? Rules are rules, but some rules, when they are broken, it doesn't warrant, a dire consequence or consequence that will disrupt the individual's life in a significant way, right? Some rules, when they're broken, can get deserves a warning. You know what I'm saying? A conversation. Listen, hey, don't. This is not supposed to happen. You get a pass, right? And there are some rules that are just, when broken, are just unacceptable. You have to leave. And so, this is all part of just, one, maintaining, again, the character and the culture of what it is that you're trying to establish. In this case, the affordable housing. You want to establish a reputation, because once you've established a reputation, then you're going to start attracting certain people. At some point, you won't even have to do a lot of the work when it comes to marketing and trying to find the right people. Your reputation is going to speak for itself. And so, for example, if you've established an affordable housing situation where tenants know, like, you are about the business, you keep the place clean, people have to follow the rules. It may be strict, but the strictness shows to be beneficial. It shows to be fruitful. It shows to be advantageous, not only to your business and to you, but to also the clients and the residents, right? As an owner, right, as well, especially when you're dealing with vulnerable populations, there's supposed to be a type of paternal element when it comes to the service you're providing, right? It's kind of like you're not necessarily their father or dad or mother or whatever, but you're somewhat of a guardian, and you're entrusted. It's like this unspoken rule that you're entrusted to provide a safe environment, right, for a population that you know to be vulnerable, right? And so there's this expectation that you are going to provide a safe environment, that you are going to make sure, I'm saying, that these people are taken care of, to the extent where they are still required to live independently and to do the things that shows they deserve to be where they are. This leads to the second part, or should I say the consequences of not having rules and regulation and structure, and what would have to be done to regain control of the situation. So when you don't have rules, when you don't have regulations and management or people in charge to enforce these rules, it's going to be a mess. It's going to be all types of foolishness going on. People are not going to want to clean. People are going to start relapse. If they're going to relapse, they're not going to relapse out on the street. They're going to relapse and take their relapse in their apartment, in the place, and begin to do foolishness in the place. Begin to bring down the value of your place simply by the presentation. So let's say you have someone move out of a room share situation. Any person who comes in to view the room or to view the apartment and it's a mess, that's gonna deter them, right? Especially for someone who's really trying to change their life and have a level of self-worth and value, that they're not going to compromise to live in an apartment that is seen to be dark and dingy and dirty, right? And so what happens is, most of these people who are just trying to get homeless people off of the street, right, which is another demographic just of the affordable housing industry that is being catered to, is that people who people, again, who have no sense of value or self-worth. They're not going to value your property. They're not going to value, what I'm saying, your stuff, right? But and that's fine, right? It's not about changing people. It's about setting the standard, the rules, the expectation. And if you're going to abide by it, then you're welcome. If you're not going to abide by it, then you're not welcome. Go back to where you was to be comfortable, and when you're ready to do what you need to do to come to this, or to be a part of this culture, this environment, then you're more than welcome to come, right? And so what happens is, a lot of people, especially people who just, they don't really care how you solve the problem, just get the homeless off the street. Here's the money, get the property. There's no integrity, right? When it comes to ensuring that, these people's investments are, you know what I'm saying, are handled righteously, right? And I think that's one of the main problems as to why so many properties, just get destroyed and ultimately demolished, because when you have the wrong people, or people who don't really care about the service or the social aspect of community development, and the responsibility and the obligation that you will put yourself in, to serve vulnerable populations. There has to be a selfless component. Not saying that you're going to live selflessly for the rest of your life, but you have to know what you're getting into, because it's a lot of sacrifice, right? And so what happens is, when people don't establish rules, as I was saying, and you know what I'm saying, let it be known what's the expectation, everything becomes a mess. And so so this is the third part of the video, or the third section of the video. How do you regain control? It's real simple. If you're someone who is in the affordable housing industry and things was good in the beginning but now it's a mess, it's like the people, it's just your property has just been violated, you know what I'm saying, just the value, and as far as the aesthetic of your property, the appeal of your property has gone down, and you may be in a situation where people that you currently rent to, I don't know why they wouldn't want to leave or cannot leave. But again, this is the reason for contracts and rules, because before anyone comes into your property, they need to sign a contract, and at any point they violate this contract, legally they are to be evicted, or hopefully they leave nicely. But if you have to proceed with a legal eviction, then that is what you have to do. Again, going back to just the things that you have to take account of when you decide to engage in certain types or any type of business, right? There are things that we don't necessarily want to do, but we have to do it because it's part of the business. And that is why some people go have these rigorous, or should I say these intense, or should I say complex requirements when it comes to renting properties, because they want to make sure that they are scouting out the best candidates. But the truth of the matter is, of course, there are certain things that you can research about a person to really get an understanding of their character. But at the end of the day, humans are humans. And when you're dealing with affordable housing, I don't feel like you should apply the same level of, or the same amount of restrictions and demands that you would, let's say, a quote-unquote average person, a person who is making six figures a year, right? And as you'll see, the more money you make, it seems like the more easier it is to just get what you want, right? And so even with dealing with vulnerable populations, you still have to implement and establish rules. Okay, I'm going to take this a little deeper, spiritually. One of the reasons is, when you're dealing with people who are broken spiritually, everything I believe is rooted in the spirit. So the spiritual component of brokenness or hurt, right, or pain, it's a process to healing, right? It's a process to healing and getting to, like I said, a place of independence, whether financial independence, relational independence, independence when it comes to just, as a people pleaser, right? You're someone who just never been alone or don't know how to be alone. There are all these issues that people deal with that will affect their daily life and their ability to exercise life skills. The reality of the situation sometimes is that some people don't know nothing about life skills. They don't know how to cook light lunches. They don't know how to cook basic meals, prepare basic meals. They don't know how to wash clothes. They don't know how to even hygienic, for hygienic reasons. They don't know how to care for themselves. So there are so many different areas, right, to focus on. So, but I do want to still keep it simple and say, because I'm going to round up this video, is that and this could all be part of, you know what I'm saying, your affordable housing and the organization that you're trying to create, because that's what I want to create. Excuse me for mine, right? I want to also have, right, establish, life skills routines or life skills classes or things that, that the residents, right, again, depending on the demographic, depending on the client, depending on the resident, after, of course, through assessing and like I said, affordable housing is so many different sectors to affordable housing. And so specifically when it comes to people men who are in sobriety, right, they're dealing, or they're overcome their addiction and they're in sobriety for a certain amount of time, and they're trying to get on their feet. There would be some other avenues of development that they still have to choose to be a part of, right? But just the availability of it, right, in itself is a blessing, and will provide, again, that paternal or parental guardianship that these populations still need as they continue their journey to self-sufficiency. With that being said, it sounds like I'm going around the bush, but with that being said, is that just like children, right? Children need discipline, right? They need to be told when, you know what I'm saying, when something is wrong. Sometimes you have some kids, they know what they're doing is wrong, but they just don't care because there's no discipline, or they have not been corrected, or their parents haven't put the foot down, as to this bad behavior. It's the same with adults, right? There are adults who do what they do simply because they feel they can get away with it. It's the same with your property, right? Once you have established rules and regulations as to simple rules and regulations, keep the bathroom clean. You want to implement chores. You want to, what else? Have, whatever it is that you need to implement to make sure that your property is being maintained, then that's what you do, okay? And you have to stand by what you say, right? You can't let money, of course, don't be irrational, don't be, unreasonable, right? Be practical, but at the same time, don't be afraid to curate a culture that works for you, right? Because you're going to get the people who's right for you. You're going to get the clients who is right for you. So like I was saying, you may have a property where people know your reputation to be very strict, right? You can't be out at this time. You have to be back in at this time. People are supposed to do their chores, etc., etc. But people know that your house is spick and span. It's clean. It's order. There's no fights. There's none of that. You're going to attract people, right, typically who are, for the most part, well-mannered. They like peace. They follow rules without a problem. They mind their business, and they're just looking for a safe, affordable place so that they can get to the next level of their self-development and move on. You're not going to get people who want to do what they want to do, who don't want to do nothing, who just feel like because they get a monthly check that's enough for them to pay their rent, and they think that because you have affordable housing that all you care about is the checks, you don't care about them, you don't care about their welfare, and that you don't care about your property. Lies. Okay, we care about all of these things. If you're on my channel, we care about all of these things, and so I'm just sharing with you what you probably already know. So I'm affirming and reminding you the importance of establishing rules. Again, make them practical as possible, make them doable, but also make them unique to you as you begin to establish your reputation in a market that's increasingly growing, right? And yeah, so that's about it. Is you want to regain control of your property, you want to regain control of the environment. You may have to shut down for a month, clean up, have, go through the process of an illegal eviction, express, your reasons, whatever, places, whatever, clean up your place and start over again. Because I know because of the pandemic, a lot of people stopped paying rent and still using the pandemic as a reason for not paying rent while they're still and have been getting monthly supplemental checks. So that's a whole nother situation and a whole nother story. But I don't know who this is for. Start over. Like if you're in a situation where you don't give up on the business, don't shut it down completely. Start over. Close it down for a month or two. Rejuvenate the place. Paint. Start over. But start over better. Start over with the knowledge that you now have, with the information that you now have. Continue to do research. Continue to, seek information and apply what works for you. And continue to serve our community, because there are people who truly desire a clean, safe, affordable place to live and will truly be grateful and will show their gratitude by how they take care of your property, by how they send referrals to your property, and how they spread the word of the product, right? The home, the space that you provide. Some people, it's so many ideas that's coming to me now, when it comes to establishing your home or your affordable housing. I mean, it could literally be, you could literally provide breakfast, right? Continental breakfast, if it applies. I think, yeah, breakfast every morning, right, for the residents. I mean, how much is breakfast, right? And that's something that you can take out of their rent, and they don't even know that they're being charged for it. Because how much is breakfast every morning? How much is some eggs? You know what I'm saying? How much is some eggs? How much is, what I'm saying, some fruit, some bread, some toast? What I'm saying? How much are these things, truly, right? And so when you and when you have bulk buying groceries like Costco and things like that, I mean, again, it's not just about providing a place to live. It's about the healing experience, the wholesome experience that the client don't or the resident, needs and don't even know that they need. And with that healing, they may not want to leave, but they will leave because they'll develop a level of confidence and, just reassurance about the world and how amazing this world actually is, and that there are good people and that there's nothing to be afraid of, right? So that we're going to wrap it up here. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to support my platform, you can do so by, I leave my Cash App and my Venmo information. Is it Venmo? Venmo or Zelle? It's one of them. There's so many cash transfer apps now. It's like, it's just so much. But I want to just keep it simple. So I believe it's Cash App and Venmo. I'm going to leave the information. I love sharing these things.